Tell us a bit more about the full implications of this advisory. How serious is this warning from the Biden administration?
Well, first of all, it's unusual for the U.S. government to put out a business advisory. So something like that has shaken awake anyone who wasn't aware of the changes or the new normal that we're experiencing in Hong Kong. For our members and most of the companies that are on the ground here, we've been living with this for a while. So we are quite aware of what's happening on the ground and positioning ourselves to deal with it. But there is increased risks. And so for companies, it's a question of risk versus reward.
And what are some of the key concerns that your members still have at this moment, whether it's on the national security law, the doxing issues that we've been talking about of late as well? What are they asking you at the moment?
Well, there are a lot of issues, and they keep on stacking up. Rule of law is all important for companies here. And so you have to try to separate whether the national security law is tapping away at any other aspects of law that would affect companies, such as commercial law. There's nothing obvious there right now, but it starts to set people questioning those things. And then with all the other additional issues that are going on, it means that regulatory requirements are much more important for companies. Last but not least is the tit for tat over sanctions. So that makes it a big deal to try to figure out whether you are positioned to avoid any worries about the U.S. government or the Chinese government being upset with you.
If the U.S. wants banks and multinational companies to reconsider their presence in Hong Kong, what does that mean about these companies and their long-term plans when it comes to expanding in China now? Does it warrant a strategic rethink of their ambitions in the mainland, too?
Well, my read, and I think most people's read of this advisory, is it's not saying to U.S. companies, you should leave Hong Kong. In fact, for us at the Chamber, we've just bought a property in Hong Kong, and we have a long-term commitment to being here. It is positioning ourselves to deal with Hong Kong and a recognition that doing business here is still not the same as doing business on the mainland, but we are in an environment of pretty intense U.S. China tensions, and that is something to be wary about.
What do you make of the likes of Facebook, the tech companies that are based here that are saying when it comes to doxing and these regulatory, I guess, issues that are emerging here in Hong Kong now, and they continue to say that, look, if this continues, that they actually could leave the city, and yet the Hong Kong government continues to kind of dismiss these concerns. What do you make of that?
Well, so far in our conversation, I've been quite general about our members, but you really do have to break down the sectors and look at what tech, academia, and the media are facing versus financial services and the service companies related to finance. For tech, there are some challenges in terms of data security and also this question of doxing. They've been quite vocal with the government, and at least the government has come back to try to water down or look at what's going on, but it's still a risk. And one of the key attributes of Hong Kong is that you can go on to Google, you can go on to Facebook, any other platform you want versus what you can do in mainland China. So I do think it's important for the government to recognize that and to be open and say we are going to maintain that free flow of information. That's crucial. We need those types of crucial words.
We got some signs of commitment, at least to Hong Kong. Our sources saying that perhaps Hong Kong could be exempt from these cybersecurity reviews and scrutiny from regulators from the CAC in Beijing. Does that give confidence that perhaps Hong Kong is still a valuable market in itself? Or is there still a sense that Hong Kong is losing its uniqueness?
Well, I think one of the worrying things about this business advisory or the questions about Hong Kong is for people who aren't really involved here, they now don't differentiate between Hong Kong and China. And there are differences in Hong Kong law. When it comes to the cybersecurity law, for example, Hong Kong is not a party as to what has been put in place in mainland China to this point. The risk is, could that continue to change? And again, our ask to the Chinese and to the Hong Kong government is reassure us, show us that this is not going to happen. Because for Hong Kong to be a very safe place to do business, and we do want to stay here, we need to understand that, because that is what makes a great financial services
How
center.
much dialogue is there with you and the government at the moment about these concerns? Are there kind of frequent conversations about these and what your members are presenting, and are they responding, do you think?
We do have dialogue, and that's very important to us to maintain that dialogue. After all, we're not a government, so we're not state to state, and we view ourselves as honest brokers. Sometimes it's a difficult conversation, but we would like Hong Kong to maintain its role as a valuable place. We're pretty sure the Hong Kong government does, and we're pretty sure that the Chinese government does as well. So yes, we are maintaining that dialogue.